CQ calling all radio amateurs and listeners. This is GB2RS, the news broadcasting service of the Radio Society of Great Britain. This broadcast comes to you from amateur radio station G4JBD in Mappishall, Bedfordshire. Welcome and thanks for joining us. It's Sunday the 19th of January and here is the GB2RS news broadcast, which was prepared for you by the RSGB for all radio amateurs and listeners. You can also find this news bulletin on our website at rsgb.org, along with links to groups and organisations that we may mention in this broadcast. This week's headlines. We're an official partner for this year's British Science Week. Nominations are open for 2 RSGB elected board director roles. And a reminder to you to update your club's RSGB Club Finder information. We'll have more on those items shortly, but first we're delighted to announce that we are an official partner for this year's British Science Week, which is run by the British Science Association. Our outreach team worked with our comms team to offer an amateur radio related activity, and this will feature in the British Science Week Community Pack. And this links with our strategic priority of growth and our desire to reach new audiences. We're very excited that amateur radio will be featured for the first time in this important national STEM campaign, and full details of the RSGB activity will be shared during the next week when all the packs are officially launched. This year's event, runs from the 7th to the 16th of March with the theme of Change and Adapt. And it's not just for young people, and we have a range of additional activity ideas which you could try with your community, friends and family as well. And we hope that our ideas and resources will encourage you to get out there and inspire others. You can find out more at the RSGB's website, which is rsgb.org/BSW, that's for British Science Week. And when you are there, look out for further announcements this week. If you have an idea or a plan to get people involved, or if you'd like some advice and support, then please contact the RSGB British Science Week coordinator. That's Ian Neal, Mike 0 Kilo Echo Oscar, and you can contact him through his email address, which is bsw, that's Bravo Sierra Whiskey, at rsgb.org.uk. Now, if you're an RSGB member and have excellent leadership skills, and if you'd like to contribute to the amateur radio community, then how about becoming an RSGB board director? Nominations are now open for applicants to stand for 2 elected board director roles. The existing board seeks directors who have specific skills to replace outgoing directors, and the board would love to see applications from those who have expertise in spectrum matters, with building positive relationships with other organisations. And the board also seeks people who are passionate about continuing its important outreach activities, as well as its ongoing work in developing practical skills among the amateur radio community. And we encourage candidates from a diverse range of backgrounds to stand for election, and we want to ensure that the board understand and reflect the community that it aims to serve. You can find out more on these roles as well as other opportunities in the RSGB's 2025 elections. Just go to rsgb.org/election. And just to note that the closing date for all vacancies is midnight on the 31st of January this year. So act now and ensure that you take this opportunity to help shape the future of amateur radio. And if you're a member of an RSGB affiliated club or society, just to note that we encourage you to visit rsgb.org/club-finder, because there you can check whether your organisation's details are up to date. Our RSGB Club Finder allows you to search for local amateur radio groups and clubs, and those people who visit the website could want to join your group, or perhaps to find out more about amateur radio before taking their foundation licence exam, or maybe they need support for British Science Week activities. So it's easy for you to update your listing. Just log into your club's membership services account at rsgb.org/members, and once you're there, go to the UK Club Finder section, and the form includes a section called Meeting Details, and there you can add helpful information about disabled access as well as details about both physical and online meetings. And we'll update Club Finder with any new data between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. every Friday. And if you'd like to update, or if you'd like your update to appear before the weekend, then please do refresh your details before 3 p.m. on Fridays. And if you have any questions on the process, you can send those to, and I'll read, this is an email address, it's membership@rsgb.org.uk. And now we have a note that Ofcom has announced a consultation, and that seeks to simplify the licensing of amateur radio visitors to the UK from a specified list of countries. The consultation also covers the proposed simplification of other wireless equipment usage, and Ofcom says, and I'll quote, "We propose to introduce a new licence exemption for short-term use of radio amateur equipment by radio amateurs visiting from countries that are not covered by the CEPT recommendation TR61-02, but with whom the UK has a bilateral reciprocal agreement." Now, the deadline for responses to the consultation is 5 p.m. on the 28th of March this year. And you can read the Ofcom consultation document at tinyurl.com/Ofcom-UWTLE. That's Uniform Whiskey Tango Lima Echo. And on the subject of Ofcom, have you revalidated your licence recently? It's a requirement of Ofcom's that radio amateurs revalidate their licence at least every 5 years, although it is recommended that you do it each year. For more information on the process, you can go to rsgb.org/licensing and then select Licence Revalidation on the right-hand menu. The web page will provide more information on the process, plus a link to the Ofcom portal, as well as a handy video guide on the process from Ofcom. And make sure you keep your details up to date and add a diary reminder to renew each year. Now it's that time of year where you'll get asked this quite often. Have you made a New Year's resolution? And was your resolution to learn Morse code? Well, if so, you might be interested in Essex CW Amateur Radio Club's CW for Beginners training. The next course starts on Thursday, the 6th of February, and it will take place via Skype starting at 7 p.m. So if you're interested in taking part, then email Andy, Golf Zero India Bravo November. Andy's email address is Golf Zero India Bravo November Figure 1 at yahoo.com. That's G0IBN number 1 at yahoo.com. Many operators are on the air until the end of January. They're taking part in the Worldwide Award. And if you've been listening to the HF bands, then you will almost certainly have heard many stations using call signs with a WWA suffix. Points are awarded for working these stations using a variety of modes. For example, 2 points are available if you make contact using a digital mode, and 10 points are available if you make contact using Morse code. To qualify the award, or for the award, you need a minimum of 100 points. And you can find out more about the award. Just visit Ham Award, that's one word, hamaward.cloud/WWA. Well, now we have details of rallies and events. The Lincoln Shortwave Club's Winter Radio Rally takes place on the 26th of January. It's being held at the Festival Hall in Caister Road in Market Raisin. The doors will open at 10 a.m. and admission is £3. There's hot refreshments and ample free car parking available on site. The cost for a table is £10, and if you want to book, then contact Steve Burke, Mike 5 Zulu Zulu Zulu. Steve's phone number is 07777 699 or you can email Steve. His email address is Mike 5 Zulu 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 at outlook.com. Next, on the 9th of February, the Mid-Cheshire Amateur Radio Society's Radioactive Fair will take place at Nantwich Civic Hall. That's on Market Street in Nantwich, Cheshire, and the postcode is Charlie Whiskey 55 Delta Golf. The doors will open from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and admission is £5. There'll be hot food, refreshments and free car parking available. If you need more information, then contact Patrick, 2 Echo 0 Victor Golf Foxtrot. His email address is info@radioactivefair. That's all one word, and fair is spelled Foxtrot Alpha India Romeo. So info@radioactivefair.co.uk. Then next in the rallies and events section is the Red Rose Winter Rally. That's on the 23rd of February, and that's from 10 a.m. at Mather Hall on Mather Lane in Lee, Lancashire, and the postcode is Whiskey November 7 to Papa Juliet. Now each trader can order up to 5-foot tables, and the price per tables remains as it has been for several years. That's £10 per table. And if you need more information, then visit the event website, which is Whiskey Mike Romeo Charlie.co.uk. And now we have the special event news. Hotel India 59 Uniform Delta is a special call sign in use by the Dominican Amateur Radio Union, and the Dominican Amateur Radio Union is the second oldest amateur radio club in the Dominican Republic. The station is celebrating the 59th anniversary of its foundation, and you can look for activity on the HF bands using SSB and digital modes until the 25th of January. You can find more information about a certificate that's available. Just go to qrz.com, and once you're there, enter the call sign Hotel India 59 Uniform Delta. Special call sign Papa Alpha 25 Mike Charlie will be on the air for just one day on Thursday the 23rd of January, and they'll be active to introduce Dutch Marines to the world of amateur radio. Operators will be using SSB on the HF bands, and the event is organised and supported by Papa India 4 Victor Bravo Delta, at the club station of the Royal Netherlands Army Signal Regiment. You can find more information on qrz.com. Just look up the call sign Papa Alpha 25 Mike Charlie. And next we have the DX news. David, Victor Echo 3 Victor Sierra Mike /Hotel Romeo 9 is active from Roatan Island. That's IOTA reference November Alpha 057. That's located off the north coast of Honduras. And David will be active until the 25th of January. He's operating using Morse code and FT8 on the 30 and 20 meter bands. And if you're lucky enough to contact him, you can QSL via Logbook of the World or via David's home call, which is Victor Echo 3 Victor Sierra Mike. Next we have news of Jeff, Victor Alpha 3 Quebec Sierra Lima, who will be active as Foxtrot Golf /Victor Alpha 3 Quebec Sierra Lima. He'll be operating from Guadeloupe Island, that's IOTA reference November Alpha 102, and he'll be active until the 26th of January. Then after that he'll be active as Papa Juliet 7 /Victor Alpha 3 Quebec Sierra Lima. That's from St Martin, which is IOTA reference November Alpha 105, and he'll be active on St Martin between the 27th of January and the 16th of February. Then once he's done with that, he's off to operate as Foxtrot Sierra /Victor Alpha 3 Quebec Sierra Lima from St Martin, which is November Alpha 105, and that's between the 16th of February to the 4th of March. In that section of his operation, he'll be using SSB and Morse code as well as digital modes on the 40 to 6 meter bands. And you can QSL via Logbook of the World directly to Jeff's home call or via the Bureau. And now we have the contest news. Tomorrow the 20th, it's the FT4 series contest, and that runs from 2000 to 2200 UTC. Using FT4 on the 80 to 10 meter bands where contests are allowed, the exchange is your signal report. Then on Tuesday the 21st, it's the 1.3 gigahertz UK activity contest, which runs from 2000 to 2230 UTC. Using all modes on the 23 centimeter band, the exchange is signal report, serial number and locator. Then we have the CQ 160 meter DX contest, which runs from 2200 UTC on Friday the 24th until 2200 UTC on Sunday the 26th of January. This contest uses Morse code on the 160 meter band, and the exchange is signal report and your CW zone. The USA stations, if you contact any, will also send their state, and Canadian stations will send their province. And finally, in the contest section, the British Amateur Radio Teledata Group's RTTY Sprint runs from 1200 UTC on Saturday the 25th until 1200 UTC on Sunday the 26th of January. Using RTTY on the 80 to 10 meter bands where contests are allowed, the exchange is your serial number. Well, now we move to the radio propagation report. This was compiled by Golf 0 Kilo Yankee Alpha, Golf 3 Yankee Lima Alpha and Golf 4 Bravo Alpha Oscar on Thursday the 16th of January. Well, it looks like the lull in sunspot activity is coming to an end as the solar flux index rose to 174 on Thursday the 16th after a week in the 150s and 160s. The sun was fairly bare, but there are now signs of more sunspot activity rotating into view. There have been no X-class flares in the past 7 days and only one M-class event, and this has meant that the KP index has been low, and that's thanks to a lack of associated coronal mass ejections. There were 4 coronal mass ejections during one 3-hour period. That was on the 13th of January. So HF conditions have not been too bad, with daytime maximum usable frequencies over 3,000 kilometers, regularly exceeding 24 and even 28 megahertz at times. However, nighttime maximum usable frequencies are still in the doldrums. They're often struggling to get above 5 megahertz over 3,000 kilometers, and this will no doubt change as we head towards spring. Long-distance contacts on the bands recently has included Sierra Oscar 1 Whiskey Sierra. That station is located in Western Sahara, and Uniform Papa 7 Whiskey Alpha in Kazakhstan, both of which were heard on 28 megahertz Morse code. Closer to home, we've had Golf Bravo 200 Lima Bravo. That station is celebrating the bicentenary of the invention of the Braille code. And then we also had Golf Bravo 1 Golf Kilo Alpha, commemorating the 100th anniversary of the Portishead radio receiving station, call sign Golf Kilo Alpha, located at Highbridge, Somerset. And both of these stations were active on the 20, 17, 15 and 10 meter bands, and they were heard using Morse code. Now, at the other end of the bands, Kev, Victor Kilo 6 Lima Whiskey in Australia, has been heard on 1822 kilohertz. He's located in Western Australia, and his sunrise time is 21:12 UTC. That's when he's been heard. Similarly, Robert, Delta Uniform 7 Echo Tango in the Philippines, he's been heard at 2200 UTC. So January is a great month for top band contacts. Next week, NOAA predicts that the solar flux index will remain in the range of 160 to 175, Geomagnetic conditions are predicted to be good, with a maximum KP index of only 3. So as always, keep an eye on solarham.com for news of solar flares and coronal mass ejections, which could easily send the KP index higher and the maximum usable frequencies lower. So that winds up the HF propagation news. We now move across to the VHF and up propagation news, and this was compiled by Golf 3 Yankee Lima Alpha and Golf 4 Bravo Alpha Oscar. Well, the current spell of high pressure has served us well, with some good tropopaths around the edge of the high into Spain and Portugal, and even onwards beyond to Madeira. And this has shown how effective long maritime ducts can be around the edge of areas of high pressure. On the 16th of January, the Atlantic was taking over the agenda, and low pressure near Scotland was pushing a weakening front into northwestern Britain as the high retreated east into Europe. The rest of the coming week has other lows bringing some rain or showers, especially to the northwest of the UK, where it will become quite windy once again. On Wednesday the 15th, weather models suggested a small high may return to the southern part of the country. We are in a rather unsettled weather period at the moment, with some limited rain scatter potential for the gigahertz bands. Meteor scatter is also a bit thin, with just a possibility of scatter via the Gamma Ursae minorids, which peaked yesterday the 18th. However, the number of meteors is at a very low rate, so it isn't a great option at all. But next we move on to aurora, and there does continue to be examples of alerts suggesting minor events. Generally though, spring is usually a better time, so there's still a little time to wait for that. On Sunday the 11th of January we had some welcome out of season sporadic E. We had openings to Poland and then to the Balkans on 50 megahertz. That lasted around 3.5 hours from 1200 UTC. And another good piece of news is the return of the Ionosonde data to the propquest.co.uk website, which has been missing for a few days. And this is a timely opportunity for you to thank all those who maintain the professional data sets that allow us amateurs to see what the bands are actually doing. For moon bounce operators, moon declination is currently positive. It is going negative this Sunday. Moon windows will shorten and peak moon elevations fall. Path losses continue to increase as we approach apogee, which is on Tuesday. And 144 megahertz sky noise is low and will remain so all week. And that's all from the propagation team. This is Golf Bravo 2 Romeo Sierra, the news broadcasting service of the Radio Society of Great Britain, and this broadcast is being brought to you by amateur station Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta in Mappishall, Bedfordshire. Well, next we move across to the local news, and please note that we have details of all RSGB affiliated clubs and societies on our website, and that includes email addresses and website links where we know them. As usual, we start off with news for the Midlands, and we have news that meetings of the Bolsover Amateur Radio Society take place on the 1st and 3rd Tuesday of the month. They're held at the Bainbridge Hall in Bolsover, and the postcode for your sat-nav is Sierra 446 Papa X-ray, and those meetings start at 8 p.m. More information and reminders for meetings are available on the Society's Facebook page. If you have a look at Bolsover ARS, that's all one string, and the @ is the symbol for @. And if you need any more information, contact Richard, Golf 0 Romeo Romeo Zulu. His phone number is 07905 868 221. The Bromsgrove and District Amateur Radio Club meet every Friday from 8 p.m, and they also have a regular coffee morning on Wednesdays in the club's shack, and that starts at 10:30 a.m. And then on Monday and Wednesday evenings they have a net on 145.7 sorry, that's wrong, it's 145.375 megahertz, and that starts at 7:30 p.m. The Burton Amateur Radio Club has slow Morse code training on 14.055 megahertz. That's on Mondays at 11 a.m. And the club also has a club night on Wednesdays from 7:30 p.m. That's held at the Black Horse in Coton in the Elms. And they also hold a very informal open net on Thursday evenings from 8 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 p.m. and that's around 145.575 megahertz FM. Central Radio Amateur Circle has their net on 145.575 megahertz from 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday and from 12 p.m. on Saturday. And they'll be having a Google meeting at 7 p.m. this Wednesday. For more information, you can visit their website, which is Charlie Romeo Alpha Charlie Romeo Alpha Delta India Oscar.com. Cheltenham Amateur Radio Association has daily nets on 145.400 megahertz at 8 p.m. and on Monday they'll have a DMR net in talk group 235292, which starts at 8 p.m. On Tuesday, they'll have slow Morse code transmissions around 3540 kilohertz from 8 p.m. and they have a Wednesday net which is on 144.350 megahertz at 8 p.m. Finally, on Friday, they'll have a net through GB3GH or GB2RS from 8 p.m. On Mondays, Coventry Amateur Radio Society holds an open FM net on 145.375 megahertz from 8 p.m. and on Wednesdays they have a Zoom meeting from 11 a.m. And finally, on Fridays, the Society holds a club night. That's held at St. Bart's and the postcode is Charlie Victor 3 2 Delta Tango and the meetings start at 8 p.m. The Dudley and District Amateur Radio Society meet every Tuesday from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Wrighton Mill on 59 Vale Street, Upper Gornal in Dudley, and the postcode is Delta Yankee 3 X-Ray Foxtrot. Gloucester Amateur Radio and Electronic Society hold an informal net every day on 145.475 MHz FM at 3:30 p.m. And on Mondays they'll be constructing flower pot antennas. That's an activity organised by Mike, Golf Zero Oscar Tango Papa. Then on Wednesday they'll have a net from 7:30 p.m. on 145.475 MHz FM. On Thursday they have a net at 7:30 p.m. on 145.475 MHz, which then moves to 80 meters SSB. Then on Friday there's a net on 432.220 MHz SSB from 7:30 p.m. On Wednesday, Hinckley Amateur Radio and Electronic Society will listen to a talk entitled The EIDX Group Expedition to Lesotho, 7 Papa 8 Echo India, and that will be presented by Dave, Echo India 9 Foxtrot Bravo Bravo. The Kettering and District Amateur Radio Society has a breakfast meeting from 10 a.m. on Sundays, and on Tuesday they have a club meeting from 7 p.m. They have a net which takes place on Thursdays at 7 p.m. and the frequency is 145.300 MHz. On Monday, Leicester Radio Society has a meeting at its club rooms and via Zoom from 7:30 p.m. and you can find the Zoom link on the club's website, which is Golf 3 Lima Romeo Sierra.org.uk. And just a note, there'll also be a club meeting on Thursday starting at 10 a.m. The Lincoln Shortwave Club meets at the BSA Village Hall from 7:30 p.m. on Wednesdays and from 9:30 a.m. on Saturday. And on Thursday they'll have a net through Golf Bravo 3 Lima Sierra, or if that's busy they'll use 145.350 MHz. And for more information you can visit the club's website, which is golf5foxtrotzulu.co.uk. On Tuesday, Loughborough and District Amateur Radio Club will meet to listen to a talk entitled Morse Code in the Frequency Domain. That's being presented by Peter, Golf 6 Kilo Uniform India. And for more information on that, you can visit their website, which is radioclub.org.uk. On Wednesday, Midland Amateur Radio Society will hold a general meeting, and they're running training classes as well. On Monday, Nunsfield House Amateur Radio Group will have a shack night and club net on 145.300 MHz. That starts at 8 p.m. and on Friday they'll be having a video evening. On Monday, RAF Waddington Amateur Radio Club has a club net on 145.325 MHz, or if that's busy, through Golf Bravo 3 Lima Mike, and that's from 7:30 p.m. Then on Fridays, members will meet at the Pie Wipe, that's from 8 p.m. Rugby Amateur Transmitting Society has weekday nets at 8:30 a.m. on 144.275 MHz upper sideband. They also have training and practice Morse code nets, which are on Monday and Thursday at 4:30 p.m. on 144.275 MHz. They start off using upper sideband and then move across to Morse code. And there's a meeting at the Borton-Lee 12th Rugby Scouts Hut from 8 p.m. on Tuesday and on Saturday from 2 p.m. Then on Friday, the Society will have their net on 1913 kHz from 8 p.m. On Thursday, the Salop Amateur Radio Society will have a natter night, and you can find more information about the Society's activities on their website, which is Salop Radio Society, that's all one word, .org. On Thursday, Solihull Amateur Radio Society will have a 2-metre net from 8 p.m. and for more information on their activities you can see their website, which is Solihull Radio Club, that's all one word, .co.uk. On Sundays, South Birmingham Radio Society has activities in the attic with Bob and others. You can find more information on the Society's website. Unfortunately, I don't have details of the website's address. On Tuesdays, visitors are welcome to attend the Society's coffee morning, and that's from 10:30 a.m. On Tuesday, South Derbyshire and Ashby Wolds Amateur Radio Group has a net on 144.225 MHz SSB. That starts at 7 p.m. and members will also hold a club meeting on Wednesday from 7 p.m. Whilst on Friday they'll have a net on 70.425 MHz starting at 7 p.m. On Monday, Sutton Coldfield Amateur Radio Society have their meeting on 145.250 MHz from 7:30 p.m. On Wednesday, Telford and District Amateur Radio Society will have a 2-metre net from 7:30 p.m. and you can find more information on their website, which is Tango Delta Alpha Romeo Sierra.org.uk. The Welland Valley Amateur Radio Society will have an operating night tomorrow the 20th. Wolverhampton Amateur Radio Society meet every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m. at the Wednesfield and Woodend British Legion. On Sundays they have a net around 145.350 MHz from 8 p.m. and you can find more information on their website, which is at wolverhamptonars, all one word, .co.uk. Or you can use at wolvesars, all one word, on social media. On Tuesday, members of the Withell Radio Club will meet from 7:30 p.m. Well, that's all for the Midlands. We now move down and right a bit for the South East and East Anglia. And the first item on the list is regarding Aylesbury Vale Radio Society, who meet on the first Wednesday. Sorry, that's incorrect. That's on the third Wednesday of each month. So Aylesbury Vale Radio Society meet on the third Wednesday of each month. And for more details on the club, you can visit their site, which is Alpha Victor Romeo Sierra.org.uk. Banbury Amateur Radio Society has a net on 144.5125 MHz FM most evenings, and they also have a club night on Wednesday from 7 p.m. And you can find more information at Banbury ARES, all one word, banburyares.co.uk. On Wednesday, Bishop Stortford Amateur Radio Society have their net starting at 8 p.m. on 145.5625 MHz. On Sundays, Bracknell Amateur Radio Club have their net through Golf Bravo 3 Bravo November from 5 p.m. and through Golf Bravo 3 Alpha Lima from 5:30 p.m. Then on Wednesday, the club has a net on 145.375 MHz FM starting at 8 p.m. The Breed Stream Amateur Radio Society meet on the first and third Saturday of each month, and you can find more information on their website, which is Bravo Sierra Alpha Romeo Sierra.co.uk. The Bredhurst Receiving and Transmitting Society meet in its shack every Wednesday from 7 p.m, and they also have a net through Golf Bravo 3 Delta Alpha on Thursdays. On Wednesday, the Bromley District Amateur Radio Society have a net starting on 145.500 MHz at 9 p.m, and you can find more information on the club's activities on their site, which is Bravo Delta Alpha Romeo Sierra.wordpress.com. Burnham Beeches Radio Club meet on the first and third Friday of the month from 8 p.m, and you can find more information on their website, which unfortunately is not listed in this news item, so I can't tell you the URL for the Burnham Beeches Radio Club, I'm afraid. Bury St Edmunds Amateur Radio Society meets at the Rougham Tower Museum on the third Wednesday of each month. It's a small but very active club, and they have club nets every day of the week except Sunday. You can find details about the club's activities on their website, which is Bravo Sierra Echo Alpha Romeo Sierra.co.uk, and their general chat frequencies are 144.7375 MHz FM and 433.400 MHz FM. On Sundays, Chelmsford Amateur Radio Society has a Morse code net on 144.060 MHz from 8 p.m, and on Monday they have a Morse net which is on 3542 kHz from 7:30 p.m, and that's followed at 8:15 p.m. by Golf Bravo 2 Charlie Whiskey slow Morse transmissions on 3555 kHz. Then on Tuesday they have an open net on 3756 kHz from 8 p.m, and on Thursday the Morse classes continue, but this time on Skype, and they start at 7 p.m. On Tuesday, Chelsea Pensioners Radio Club have their net on 145.375 MHz from 2 p.m. On Tuesday, Chippenham and District Amateur Radio Club will meet from 7:30 p.m, and you can find details about their activities and meetings on their website, which is Chippenham Radio, that's all one word, .club. On Tuesday, the Colchester Radio Amateurs Club has an open net on 433.400 MHz from 7 p.m, and also on 1.920 MHz lower sideband from 8 p.m. Then on Wednesday, they have an open net around 145.360 MHz from 7 p.m, and Thursday's open net is on 3.685 MHz from 7 p.m, and on Friday they'll have an open DX net. That's held on 14.125 MHz with help on 145.350 MHz from 2:30 p.m. On Sundays, Coulsdon Amateur Transmitting Society has nets on 145.400 MHz from 11 a.m. and on 3.700 MHz from 5 p.m. And then on Wednesday, there's a net around 70.425 MHz, and that's from 9 p.m. Crawley Amateur Radio Club meet at 11 a.m. on Sundays and 2 p.m. on Fridays. The club's AGM will be held on Wednesday from 8 p.m. and members will all meet in Hut 18. That's on Tilgate Drive, Crawley, and the postcode is Romeo Hotel 10 5 Hotel Whiskey. And you can get more information from Stuart, Golf 3 Yankee Sierra X-Ray. Stuart's phone number is 0772 006 8493. Right, I'm starting to get a bit croaky, so if you excuse me just one sec, I'm going to have a quick swig. One moment. Right. The Cray Valley Radio Society's 2 metre and 4 metre FM nets are on 145.350 MHz on Sundays at 10 a.m. and 70.425 MHz on Fridays at 8 p.m. On Wednesdays, Crystal Palace Radio and Electronics Club have their net on 145.525 MHz, and that starts at 8 p.m. And on Saturdays, they have a net on 51.550 MHz FM, also at 8 p.m. On Sundays, the Darenth Valley Radio Society have their net on 145.475 MHz at 8 a.m. Dorking and District Radio Society has a net each day from Monday to Saturday on 144.775 MHz FM, and that starts at 10 a.m. The next meeting of the Edgware and District Radio Society will be on Thursday. Essex Ham has a net on Monday through Golf Bravo 3 Delta Alpha, that's at 8 p.m. And excuse me, they'll also have chat room and audio feed at essexham.net. On Sundays, Felixstowe and District Amateur Radio Society have their net on 145.400 MHz from 10 a.m. And on Monday, members will meet for a buildathon activity in their shack. And then on Wednesday, they'll have a net through Golf Bravo 3 India Hotel starting at 7:30 p.m. On Wednesday, Hammersmith Amateur Radio Society will meet in the William Morris School Annex from 7 p.m. On Tuesday, members of the Harlow and District Amateur Radio Society will meet from 10 a.m. On Wednesday, they'll have a net on 145.425 MHz from 7:30 p.m. And on Thursday, they'll have a digital net on the XLX215 reflector. And finally, on Friday, the Society will meet from 8 p.m. and visitors will be welcome to attend. The Hastings Electronics and Radio Club hold a daily net on the Golf Bravo 3 Echo Sierra repeater. That's at 10 a.m. And they also have a Morse code net on Monday nights at 8 p.m. on 144.575 MHz. The Morse code net is aimed at anyone new to Morse code or who wishes to brush up on their Morse code skills, and non-members are welcome to take part. The net is then followed by general conversation. Then on Wednesdays, usually around 1 p.m, members meet up at various locations in the area for an afternoon of portable radio on the air, using both HF and VHF on SSB, Morse code and FM. And again, non-members are welcome to attend. Now, the details do vary each week, so it's a good idea to visit the club's website on Wednesday morning just to have a look at up-to-date information about where and when they'll be meeting. And the website address is hastings-electronics-radio-club.com. On Tuesday, Horndine and District Amateur Radio Club have a Morse code net which starts at 9 a.m. around 1950 kHz, and they then move to SSB at around 9:30 a.m. They have another net on Wednesday around 1950 kHz using SSB, and that's from 7:30 p.m. On Sundays, the Isle of Wight Radio Society has a net through Golf Bravo 7 Papa Oscar and Golf Bravo 7 Mike Tango. They also have a net from Monday to Friday through Golf Bravo 3 India Whiskey. That's from 6:15 a.m. On Tuesday, they take part in the Bramble Net through the Golf Bravo 3 India Whiskey repeater. That's from 7:30 p.m. And on Thursday, there's another net through GB2RS, which is followed by a Zoom meeting from 8 p.m. Then on Fridays, members meet at the Haylands Farm in Ryde, and foundation and intermediate licence training is available at those meetings. On Friday, Mid Sussex Amateur Radio Society, or members of the society, will listen to a talk entitled Norris Brothers, Mid Sussex's Foreign or Forgotten Geniuses. The talk will take place in the Millfield Suite, Cypress Hall in Burgess Hill from 7:30 p.m. On Friday, the Itchen Valley Amateur Radio Club will meet to discuss RF current measurement with Duncan, Golf 3 Romeo Quebec Foxtrot. Loughton and Epping Forest Amateur Radio Society have a net on Wednesday from 8 p.m. on Brandmeister DMR Talk Group 23511. On Thursday, they have a net from 8 p.m. on 144.725 MHz FM. And on Friday, they'll have a meeting and DMR clinic, which will be held at All Saints House. That's from 8 p.m. Lowestoft District and Pye Amateur Radio Club have their net on Sundays on 433.575 MHz, starting at 7 p.m. And on Tuesday, they meet on 145.475 MHz at 7 p.m. And then on Thursday, similarly, they meet at 7:30 p.m. this time, but this is in person. And the final net of the week is on Friday, and that's on 51.490 MHz from 7 p.m. The Maidenhead and District Amateur Radio Club meet at the Friends Meeting House. That's on 14 West Street, Maidenhead, and the postcode is Sierra Lima 6 Romeo Lima. You can find more information on their website, which is at Mike Alpha Delta Alpha Romeo Charlie.org. The Martello Tower Group have a net every Monday evening at 8 p.m. through Golf Bravo 3 Charlie Lima. Then on Sundays, the group has a net through Golf Bravo 3 Charlie Echo, and that's from 8 p.m. The Medway Amateur Receiving and Transmitting Society nets are each weekday from 9:30 a.m. on 144.650 MHz. On Fridays, Milton Keynes Amateur Radio Society meets via Zoom, and that's for coffee and a chat from 10:30 a.m. On Friday, the Newbury and District Amateur Radio Society will hold a surplus equipment sale, and for more information about that, you can visit November Alpha Delta Alpha Romeo Sierra.org.uk. The Norfolk Amateur Radio Club have a net through Golf Bravo 3 November Bravo every Monday. That's from 7:30 p.m, followed by a Morse code net on 3.543 MHz at 8:30 p.m. The Shefford and District Radio Society's regular nets are on Mondays on 1985 kHz lower sideband at 7 p.m. and on Wednesdays through Golf Bravo 3 Papa India, and that's from 8 p.m. Then on Thursday, this coming Thursday, members will enjoy a presentation on Formula One. That's being presented by Steve Porter. And you can find more details about the club's activities and how to find the club. Just go to their website, which is Sierra Alpha Delta Alpha Romeo Sierra.co.uk. On Wednesday, the Southdown Amateur Radio Society will have a cafe meeting at 12:15 p.m. and that will then be followed by a net through Golf Bravo 3 Zulu X-Ray from 2 p.m. Stevenage and District Amateur Radio Society meet every Tuesday evening from 7:30 p.m. at the Stevenage Resource Centre. That's on Chells Way in Stevenage, and the postcode is Sierra Golf 2 0 Lima Tango. They have free tea, coffee and biscuits available for everyone who attends. They have a club sked which is held at 8 p.m. on 80 metres each Friday around 3.726 megahertz. And on the last Friday of each month, a 2 metre sked is available close to 145.450 megahertz, and that's to encourage VHF activity and to help those who are new to the hobby. The club operates using the call sign Golf 3 Sierra Alpha Delta, and everyone's welcome to join in regardless of club membership. For more information, have a look at their website, which is Sierra Alpha Delta Alpha Romeo Sierra.com. On Sundays, the Surrey Radio Contact Club have a net on 1.905 megahertz at 9:30 a.m. and on Monday there'll be a net on 3.710 megahertz LSB from 9 a.m. On Tuesday they have a net on 51.550 megahertz from 8 p.m. and on Wednesday they meet on 28.078 megahertz JS8, that's from 10 a.m. Then on Thursday they meet on 70.300 megahertz from 8 p.m. and on Friday it's a D-Star net on 144.6125 megahertz from 7:30 p.m. and there's also an FM net on 145.350 megahertz from 8 p.m. The West Kent Amateur Radio Society has regular weekly nets. You can find details of these and other club information on their website, which is Whiskey Kilo Alpha Romeo Sierra.org.uk. On Friday, the Witten Amateur Radio Group will have an HF and VHF operating meeting, and for more information on that, go to their website, which is Whiskey Alpha Romeo. Whiskey Alpha Romeo Golf .dreamhosters.com. Well, that brings to an end this week's GB2RS news broadcast, which was brought to you by myself, Graham, Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta, and I'm in Meppershall, Bedfordshire. The news was compiled by the Radio Society of Great Britain, who represent amateur radio and radio amateurs in the UK and abroad. Now, if you have a news item to share, then please do email it to us as far in advance as possible. We'll include it for you free of charge in the GB2RS news broadcasts, also in Radcom magazine and the RSGB website. So very good value for money, your membership there. Send your details to the editorial team. Their email address is radcom@rsgb.org.uk. And if your news item is time sensitive, then you must send it to us by 10 a.m. on the Thursday prior to the news broadcast. And the RSGB will retain copyright over all material transmitted. And you can find information about amateur radio on our website, which is Romeo Sierra Golf Bravo.org. You can also download the full schedule of GB2RS news broadcasts from rsgb.org/GB2RS schedule. Well, we wish you 7-3 from the GB2RS news team. We hope you have a lovely Sunday and a great week ahead. This is Graham, Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta in Meppershall, Bedfordshire. Now, unfortunately, I won't be able to take any calls today. I'm currently at work. This is a recording. So I will be back in person next week and hope to speak to you then. So sorry about that. Anyone who has any questions, feel free to pop them on an email to me. If you go to qrz.com and look up my call sign Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta, you'll see email details there. So this is G4JBD now closing down. 73 everyone. Bye bye.